Hi guys, this is Jimmy from xbosoft.com. Today we have a very exciting and important topic to talk about. What if your business is in waterfall and want to transition to agile? This question of transitioning from waterfall to agile is a very important one and requires deep thinking. We must first think about agile and why as a business you would want to get involved in the agile development process in the first place. But before we get into this question, let's talk about waterfall, the methodology that predated agile by 30 years. Waterfall is a 50 years old methodology that was really prominent in the 70s in terms of project management. And it actually followed a very structured system, a kind of a linear system where everything had to be defined in advance. Set budget, set timing, set scope. Because of the rigidity of the system and the lack of involvement from the customer, by the end of this project cycle, by the time the finished product get into the customer's hand, the customer might have changed his mind thousands of times, and therefore that will only result in customer dissatisfaction and obviously lots of time, lots of money being spent in creating a project where you don't really know if you're creating exactly what the customer wants. So if, for example, we were to illustrate this old way, if you will, it will go like this. Imagine you trying to build a plane. So first of all, you will be like designing this plane, but then until the design is finished, for example, the making of the wheels wouldn't start. And until the wheels is finished, you would then start the motor. And until the motor is finished, you would then start the body of the plane. And by the time you assemble all of these things and you deliver the finished product, the customer mindset might have changed. He might want a smaller plane. He might want a plane with less seats or more seats. He might want a different color. But on the other hand, Agile uses short bursts of design, develop, test, and deploy, and constantly involve the customer so that the finished product is more in line with what the customer expectation is. And any changes in the customer's mind or his request is instantly implemented and taken into account. This obviously helps save a lot of money, save a lot of time, and create higher customer satisfaction. Hey guys, if you like the content of this video so far, let us know in the comment section below. If you have any question, let us know as well. So if we take the plane analogy for agile methodology, unlike the waterfall, you're not moving in cascade where you have blocks and each block needs to be completed before the next one starts. With agile methodology, you can adapt to changing situations, especially that you involve the customer right from the beginning. And the principle is really to incrementally and iteratively create the product. So the flexibility stemming from this approach allows teams to develop project faster and more in line with customers' changing expectations. So really Agile is kind of a revolution compared to waterfall, where you're moving in incremental cycle, but you at the same time changing as customers' expectation changes. So there are three main reasons why you want to transition to Agile. So remember when we said we need to think about Agile and why you want to go into Agile in the first place. The first one is more iteration and more feedback. In Waterfall, you had long iteration and little feedback, which led to customers' dissatisfaction. While with Agile, you have more iteration and more feedback. And the second reason, in line with the first one, is you develop what the customer wants while bearing in mind that their needs or their want might change over time. So you get all this flexibility, this agility, if you want, where you really are constantly taking their feedback. But because Agile rely on small but incremental cycle of design, develop, test, and deploy, it allows customers feedback while minimizing time spent. And we also want lightweight processes that don't have so much documentation so that the iteration can happen faster, unlike with Waterfall, where you have kind of a heavy set of documentation and a big rigidity that kind of slow down the whole process. So the third reason to move to Agile is you need to think about what documentations are necessary, going all the way from test plans, test cases, and so on. So there are 5 key criteria or factors you should bear in mind when you are in the process of moving to Agile. So the first one is a change of mindset. A change of mindset is necessary if you're really serious about going to Agile, because you need to allow for learning, failing, trying again, failing, until you get the whole process right. But the advantage of getting this process, as we highlighted before, is there. But you need to be able to allow for all this failing to happen, the learning curve to happen in the process. And consequently, you need to iterate the software, the process, and the person responsible for implementing the process. The second point is to understand the value and how to implement quick feedback cycles. And quick feedback cycles are not just on requirements, but also on everything that can go wrong during the process. A third factor to consider when transitioning to Agile is developing a framework and changing pieces iteratively. A framework could be as simple as who's doing what and how often they're doing it. A fourth component of a successful transition to Agile is to implement retrospective with rigor. To answer the question what could be improved, teams should be allowed to give feedback openly. And from this retrospective session, a list of tasks will emerge, and then you'll need to focus on the tasks that bring the most value and that you can prioritize and put as number one to be done. A fifth component of a successful transition to Agile is to adapt and learn new skills. It's important for this team to learn new skills to implement these quicker cycles. So for a tester, that might be learning automation and unit testing. It might also mean learning to work with business analysts and analyzing requirements and their testabilities. Hey guys, this was a quick video about the few pointers you should bear in mind when you think about moving from Waterfall to Agile. And guys, make sure you stay tuned, because in our next video, we're going to talk about what you should do if you have tons of lines of code running everywhere. Until then, make sure you give us the thumb up, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on our social media platforms.